One time.
Ricky, let's start with some news from this week, some very sad news. Former U.S. Marine Travis Mason was killed while pulling a security guard shift last weekend at a pot shop in Aurora. You used to be the police chief in Aurora, and I know Blue Line released a statement right after this happened, but could this aspiring police officer's death, could it have been avoided? Let's talk about that.
Well, I guess first of all, the way that I want to answer that is I heard John talk a little bit about prior military or law enforcement. We hire most all of our hirees are from that same branch or that field. And when you look at it from a standpoint of not only is he military, but he was a young father.
Yeah.
You know, it's just devastating and a travesty, you know, for that family. Could it have been prevented? Possibly. Yeah, you know, I guess I would say that. I mean, I've dealt with these issues over many years, and unfortunately, they happen, right? But I think with some different security, maybe some different training. And when I say different security, maybe some different door buzzers or just methods or procedures that you could sit down and go over step by step. So possibly it could have been, but I can't tell you, 100% that such a travesty could ever have been prevented.
So when something like that happens in this community, I mean, it's still a relatively small community. Is it felt industry-wide throughout the state, even beyond the state?
Well, I think obviously it is, because what's impacted, of course, are our families. And in this case, and all of our employees have families also. So they're concerned. I've taken a lot of calls from wives and girlfriends concerned about their employees. And yeah, it truly is. We've had conversations with many of the other security firms, and this is one of those things, even though we may be a competitor, we're going to come together and we're going to try to work together to ensure that legal businesses like John's are properly protected and we're still there to serve.
Well, so much of the conversation surrounding Travis Mason's death, is would it have happened if this weren't an industry that dealt primarily in cash with a very valuable product that, fill a bag full of, marijuana product, maybe of all concentrates, that could be a very valuable bag when you walk out of that business if you're robbing them. So, this issue of banking and the lack of banking in the cannabis industry, as well as it being primarily a cash business, we've been hearing about that for years. Is that still an issue from a security perspective? Also, is it as much of an issue now as it was a year ago, 2 years ago?
Oh, those are great questions. I guess I would tell you that yes. I mean, when you look at it, or I guess my terminology from a security standpoint is, when it is a cash business, and sometimes the product, as you were referring to, may be more valuable than the cash itself.
Sure.
So you have two assets that can be a target for the criminal element. But the issue of it being a cash-laden business, of course, that creates all sorts of problems from the standpoint of where do you move it from the store, how do you get it into the system, how do you pay your employees? There are a myriad of issues. But to answer your question, what we've seen over the last couple of years is that there are more and more pioneers, much probably like John Lord, just coming into the industry.
Sure.
There are pioneers in the financial institutions who are stepping out and are saying, these are legitimate businesses. The law has legalized the businesses. Therefore, we're going to try and provide the financial support via banking and so forth.
And you're talking about some of the banks, credit unions that have gone out on those limbs
quietly
quietly and given these businesses.
And I think they still want to remain quiet because we talked about the difference between the state law and the federal law. But there are those pioneers, and they're looking at it of serving the industry because, after all, it is a legal business.
So it's not as much of an issue now as it was 2 years ago.
Well, I don't want to say that it's lessened dramatically, but what I will say is it is lessening, I think, each and every day and as we move along. So we're able to work with our business partners and also with those financial institutions to ensure that they're protected, those assets are protected, and hopefully we can assist some of those legitimate businesses into obtaining a financial institution that is acceptable.
Sure.